Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech, and in this video, I'll be unboxing the OnePlus 8T and doing a quick hands-on review. So guys, here's the box. Now OnePlus has launched this phone in India in two variants. Base variant is priced at 43,000 rupees for 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 46,000 rupees for 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. In India, it's available online on Amazon.in and OnePlus.in. It's available in two colors, aquamarine green and Luna silver. We have the silver color in the 12GB variant. Now this OnePlus 8T has a lot of changes from the previously launched OnePlus 8. The most important change would be its display. OnePlus 8 had a curved display or a display with rounded corners, while the OnePlus 8T has a flat display. Besides that, OnePlus 8 had a 90Hz refresh rate display, while the OnePlus 8T has 120Hz refresh rate. And the final major change would be the charging speeds. OnePlus 8 came with Warp Charge 30T with a maximum charging speeds of 30 watts, while the OnePlus 8T comes with Warp Charge 65 with a maximum output of 65 watts. So the charging speeds on the OnePlus 8T are going to be at least twice as speed as the OnePlus 8. Now besides these three major changes, there are some smaller stuff like change in thickness, weight, and some specs related to the cameras as well. Now without any further delays, let's get on with the unboxing. By the way, this is how the packaging looks like, pretty similar to all the previous OnePlus phones. In fact, it's pretty boring right now. So let's get on with the unboxing. Now it's done. So at the top, we have the phone itself. And by the way, on this plastic cover, we also get to see the location of NFC. It's over here. That's something I always miss. Next, we have a cardboard box. The tray itself is a cardboard box. And inside that we have some documentation. So first it says never settle, some documentation, product information. We got a quick preview of the sensors. This is a physical overview, and it says highest SAR value. These are the SAR values. Next we also get the Red Cable Club membership, and this is an invitation letter, and that's the invite. And finally, we got some stickers as well. Next, we have a free silicone case. Following that is a Type-C to Type-C charging cable. And finally, a 65-watt power adapter. By the way, design of this adapter is slightly different from the previous OnePlus chargers. So guys, these are all the contents of the box. Now let me just put everything aside and come back to the phone. Now here's the phone and plastic wrapping. Let me just remove that. We got some additional stickers. So this is how the phone looks on the front, and this is how the phone looks on the back with its Luna silver color. Now let's have a physical overview. On the back, this phone has a 3D curved Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for additional protection with a matte anti-glare finish. In fact, unless you really tell people about it, people will think it's either plastic or something else. It doesn't feel like glass at all, and the matte finish is done really well, and it doesn't attract any kind of smudges or fingerprints, at least right out of the box. So even though it's a glass back, it doesn't really feel like a glass back. It isn't all that slippery. Now with that said, at the top we have the camera module with all the cameras, LED flash, and a new flicker detect sensor. Following that is the OnePlus branding, and at the bottom, once again it says OnePlus. On the front we have a pretty huge display with a punch hole design, protected by a 2.5D curved Corning Gorilla Glass 5. Above the display we have the earphone speaker and some sensors beside that. Below the display it's completely plain, and the chin is pretty small. Now for the sides. On the right side we have the alert slider and the power button. On the left side we have the volume buttons. These buttons are made of metal, they have a nice clicky feel to them, and they are sufficiently elevated. At the top end we have just the secondary microphone for noise cancellation. Finally, at the bottom, we have the SIM card tray housing 2 nano SIM slots, followed by a USB Type-C charging port and the speaker grill. Now this phone has a thickness of 8.4 mm and weighs 188 grams. In hand, it feels kinda thick and has a bit of weight to it. In fact, it feels almost as if it weighs 200 grams. Weight distribution is not that great. Now let's try out the case that we got inside the box. By the way, this phone also comes with a free screen guard pre-applied, and that's really appreciated. Now as for the case, it has a tiny bit of raised lip for the camera module, which can provide a lot of protection. And even in the front, there is a tiny bit of raised lip, so even the display is well protected. So when you place your phone on its back or on its face itself, display and camera module is very well protected. Now as for this case, it's pretty decent for something that we get right out of the box. Even the buttons are nice and clickable, they are sufficiently elevated. Overall, this case can give you some extra grip, prevent smudges, and can last you for the first few days, but get a better case if you want absolute protection. Now these are the complete specifications of this phone. On the rear, this phone has a quad camera setup with a 48 megapixel primary camera with Sony IMX586 sensor with f1.7 aperture, electronic image stabilization and optical image stabilization. That's followed by a 16 megapixel wide angle camera with f2.2 aperture and 123-degree field of view. That's followed by a 5 megapixel macro lens, a 2 megapixel monochrome lens and dual LED flash. For selfies, it has a 16 megapixel camera with Sony IMX471 sensor with f2.4 aperture. On the front, it has a massive 6.55-inch Fluid AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate, Full HD Plus resolution in 20:9 aspect ratio with a peak brightness of 1100 nits. It also supports HDR10+, it is A+ rated from DisplayMate, and it also has a GNCD value of 0.3. For this particular device, OnePlus is using two ambient light sensors, one on the front and one on the back, to accurately measure the surrounding light. As for performance, it sports a Snapdragon 865 processor with Adreno 650 GPU with 8 or 12GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 128 or 256GB of UFS 3.1 storage. By the way, UFS 3.1 storage is 3 times faster than UFS 3.0 seen on the OnePlus 8. As for software, it will be running OxygenOS 11 based on Android 11. Powering this device is a 4500 mAh battery and also comes with Warp Charge 65 with a maximum output of 65 watts. This particular charger is backward compatible for Warp Charge 30T, Warp Charge 30 dash charger, and also has up to 45 watts of PD charging. Besides that, this phone also has dual stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support, but sadly there's no audio jack. We also have an in-display fingerprint scanner, supports face unlock. We have Bluetooth 5.1, supports aptX, aptX HD, LDAC and AAC. We also get NFC. By the way, this phone also comes with a new haptic engine and it's pretty good. But still, it's nowhere as good as the iPhones. For what it's worth, it's good and it is definitely usable. So those were all the specifications. Now let me turn on the phone and set it up and come back to you in a second. So this is how the phone looks once we turn it on and set it up. This is the default home screen or the default launcher. Here's the app drawer, very few applications. Now here's the notification area with the new layout from Android 11. Now let's go to the about page. So this phone is running OxygenOS 11 based on Android 11. And right out of the box, we got the September security patch, which is pretty good. As for the storage, out of that 256GB of space, we get about 236GB of space for our user apps and user data, which should be more than sufficient for most people. By the way, I also got a brand new update once I turned it on, so let me just update it and come back to you. So I've installed the new update. Now let's try out the camera interface. So this is the camera interface for the rear camera. It looks pretty similar to all of the previous OnePlus phones. At the center, we have the toggle to switch between the primary camera and the wide angle camera. Right now, we are using the primary camera, and to switch to the wide angle camera, click on the left toggle. Now we also got 2x zoom, but this is just digital zoom where we are just cropping the main sensor. Next, we also got super macro mode and you can enable it from here. And right now we are using the super macro mode. I'll show you sample shots later. Now, besides that, we have the regular portrait mode. On this phone, we can take a cropped portrait shot and a wide angle portrait shot as well. Both these portrait modes use the same primary camera. Next, we have nightscape, which is a dedicated night mode. And we can use this nightscape mode for both the primary camera and even for the wide angle camera. Next, we have the dedicated pro mode. Now let's go back to the left side. And first we have the video recording. We can record video with the primary camera, wide angle camera as well. And even while you're recording video, you can switch between the cameras, which is a pretty cool feature. We also got super stable mode on this phone and you can enable it using this toggle over here. And once you enable it, it'll further stabilize the video footage. Next, we also have video portrait mode where you can record video with a background blur effect. I'll show you the sample shot later. Next, we have slow motion video recording, panorama, and finally, time-lapse. By the way, we can also swipe up to check out all the modes in a single go. Now let's check out the front camera. So here we go, that's the animation. And every time your phone uses the front camera, you can see a green dot beside the camera to indicate that someone or some application is trying to use your front camera. It's a nice feature to further promote privacy. So this is the interface for the front camera, and on the left side we have the regular video recording, and on the right side we have the portrait mode. Besides these three modes, we just have an additional time lapse for the front camera. That's it, no additional features. So that's the camera interface, and now these are some sample shots. Now let's check out the speaker loudness. By the way, this phone has stereo speakers along with Dolby Atmos, so let's check it out.
I'm sorry that I stole your car.
So that was the speaker loudness, and speakers are pretty loud. They're great for media consumption, ringtones and alarms. Now let's test the biometrics. We'll start off with the fingerprint scanner. I've already set it up, and here we go. That's fingerprint scanner. It's pretty fast, almost instantaneous. Now let's test the face unlock feature. Once again, I've already set it up, and so that was the face unlock feature in good lighting conditions. It's super fast, just as fast as the in-display fingerprint scanner, and probably more faster because you don't have to touch anything. You just need to light up the screen and it unlocks the phone. So that's pretty good. Now let's test it in low lighting conditions. Once again, it's pretty fast. By the way, whenever we are using the face unlock feature, we can see that green dot beside the front camera. Once again, that particular feature works everywhere. So even in low lighting conditions, face unlock is working and it is pretty fast. It's definitely usable. Now let's have a quick look at the overall user interface. Here's the app drawer. These are all the applications that come pre-installed. I've installed a few, but besides that, there is very little bloatware. Now here's the notification area, and these are the toggles. And now the notification toggle area has been reduced, and you get music controls directly near notification toggles, which is a pretty good feature. Now let me enable dark mode. Now this is how the phone looks with the dark mode. Here's the phone dialer, SMS application, Google Play Store. So dark mode works pretty well. This phone comes with a 120Hz refresh rate display, and you can change settings related to that from display settings. Just go to display settings, then select advanced, and you can change the refresh rate from here. Now one of the most unique features about all the OnePlus phones is definitely this alert slider, and you can change between different modes just by using this alert slider without turning on your phone. Now if you set the alert slider to mute or silent, you can see a quick indication in the notification area. Here we have it. That takes us directly to the sound settings. Now we can have a quick look at how the alert slider works. Right now we are using the vibrate mode, and this is the regular mode. So this is how the controls change. Now this phone also has Dolby Atmos, and you can change these settings from here. By default it is set to dynamic, but you can go with movie or music as well. By the way, this Dolby Atmos settings are for the speakers, not for the earphones. So Dolby Atmos is working along with the speakers to improve your overall experience. And as for the navigation gestures, we can choose between the regular navigation buttons or the navigation gestures right while setting up the phone. And this is how they work. You can just swipe from the bottom to go home, swipe and hold for recent applications. By the way, in the recent applications, we also get a quick indicator here to switch between applications, which is a pretty neat feature. Now, if you want to go back a step, you can swipe from the left side or right side. It takes you back a step. For Google Assistant, you can swipe diagonally from the bottom left corner or bottom right corner, and it triggers Google Assistant. Now besides that, you can also swipe left or right on this bottom bar to quickly switch between applications. And even this particular gesture works very seamlessly. Now before I conclude, these are the benchmark scores. So guys, This is the new OnePlus 8T with a flatter display, faster charging speeds, and with some slight variations with cameras and some stuff here and there. This is the next iteration for the OnePlus 8. Even now, OnePlus 8 is still a pretty great phone, and the major difference between the two is its display. So if you're someone who wants a fancier rounded corner display, you can go with the OnePlus 8, and if you want a flatter display, then you can go with the OnePlus 8T. Personally, I still like the OnePlus 8. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.